doing the odd problems on the exam review. Okay? So this is the thing that I sent you electronically, and I gave you a hard copy of. So if you don't have yours, just get it electronically or take a picture of somebody, or just write down the problems, I don't know. So we are going to find the period of this. Now this is a super simple problem because period is always, of a sine or cosine, period is always 2 pi or 360, whichever way you want to do it. 2 pi is the same as 360, divided by this coefficient. So you are either going to answer the question that the period is pi, or you're going to say the period is 180. It doesn't matter if you're in degrees or radians. Now, if it's a multiple choice question, then of course you'll have to answer whichever one is listed there. All right? So pi or 180. We find the period by taking 2 pi, 360, and dividing it by that coefficient. All right, number 3. We're doing the odds. Describe the range of this function. Now later on in the exam, you are going to have to graph a trigonometric function, but you don't really have to go too in depth with this one. You do have to remember what a sine looks like. What does a sine look like? It starts at the origin. Remember original sin? Looks like that. Right? Now, how high up does it go? Do you remember how you label these? Well, the normal one goes up and down 1, but not this one. This one goes up and down 3. So you don't have to do anything else because you are finding just the range. So what is our range of numbers? What's our lowest point? What's our highest point? So our range is everything from -3 to 3. That's our range. All right, number 5. This hasn't been that long ago. Let's see if you remember how to do this. Number 5, the dot product. So do you remember how to do the dot product?
So you add your x's, add your y.
You multiply the x's, multiply the y's, add them together. So multiplying the x's, I get -3. Multiplying the y's, I get 10. Adding them together, my answer is 7. The math is easy. Remembering how to do it might be a little bit harder, okay? So we multiply the x's, multiply the y's, add them together. All right? Number 7. Oh, this should be an easy one for you. What is the vertex? You don't need to find anything else, just the vertex. The vertex is -1, 3. What's going to happen on that one? People are going to forget to pay attention that that's x and that's y. Yeah, it's -1, 3. That's your vertex. Well, so far this is pretty easy. Let's see. The next one says, find the cosine of 60. Right? On the right problem? Yeah. Find the exact cosine of 60. So this is a no calculator problem, so you're not even going to need you can't even type it in. What do? We make a triangle, absolutely. And 60 degrees would be right here, right? So obviously that's a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So what are the sides? 1, 2, and root 3, do you know where they go?
1 goes to 30.
The root 3 goes here. You're exactly right, Francie. Good job. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Now I want the cosine. So how do I find the cosine? Adjacent, which would be 1, over hypotenuse, which is 2, 1/2. Easy. Number 11, simplify tan times cosine. But do you remember doing these problems? And I always said, if you have sines and cosines, leave them alone. Don't change your sines and cosines. But we do need to change the tangent. Anybody remember what? Sine over cosine. That's exactly right. Oh, Mrs. Ford, how am I supposed to remember that? I don't know, but you just are. Tangent is sine over cosine. Okay? Now what happens? The cosines will cancel, and the answer is just sine. Now you're going to have a problem like that on the exam, but it's not going to be any harder than that. It's going to be a different problem than that, but it's not going to be one of those really long, complicated ones. It's going to be real basic. All right, 13. This is something that we just did not very long ago. We're going to find the vertices of this. So when you took your test, which you'll get back on Friday, you'll get back all your papers on Friday. When you took your test over this, you had a whole bunch of different things you had to find. This time we only want the vertices. All right. Anybody know what shape it is?
It's an ellipse.
It's either an ellipse or a hyperbola.
It's a hyperbola.
It actually is a hyperbola because it's a minus,
Yeah,
right,
it's not
Rylan?
minus.
It's a hyperbola. Now, we don't have to graph it at all, but we got to figure out where the vertices are. So we start with the center. So where's the center?
Negative 1, 2.
-1, 2. Now, this is -1, 2. So to build the box, if you were going to build the box, you would go sideways 4
And up and down 3. Right?
and up and down 3. And that would be your box, right? And then you would draw in your asymptotes. Now, how does this open? That's what you got to know. How does it open? Sideways. So this point right here is one of your answers, right here on the corner of the box, or on the side of the box. And this is the other one. So those are the 2 points you have to figure out. Those are going to be the answer to the question. They're the vertices, right? So our center is at -1, 2. And to get these points, we counted sideways 4. So -1 back up 4 would put me at -5, 2. And go forward 4 puts me at 3, 2. So your vertices are at those 2 points. All right? Oh, and that's all you had to find was 13, was the vertices. All right, 15. Given that the sine is 5/13, all right, there's a lot to remember, but I have confidence in you. You can do this. And theta is between 0 and pi over 2. We got to find the tangent. Now, some of you are just looking at that and getting all freaked out, and you don't need to. What's pi over 2?
180.
90. 180 divided by 2, 90. So this says my angle is between 0 and 90. Well, if it's between 0 and 90, where am I going to draw it? Quadrant 1? So all this does is tell me where to draw it. Draw it between 0 and 90. Now what does this tell me about the angle? Opposites 5. And hypotenuse is 13? find that?
Yeah.
Using the Pythagorean Theorem. So x squared plus 5 squared equals 13 squared. Now you're not going to have a calculator on this part, so you are going to have to be able to do that kind of arithmetic on your own. The numbers are going to be small like this. You're not going to be doing thousands and stuff, but you won't have a calculator here. So x squared plus 25 equals 169.
Minus 25.
So x squared equals 144.
12.
And the square root is 12. Right? Now what's the answer? You want the tangent. Look at your picture. What's the tangent?
5 over 12.
5 over 12. How do we know the tangent's 5 over 12? TOA. Opposite over adjacent. Very good. Scary problem, but pretty easy. All right, in flex, I think it was flex, this is the one that was just freaking people out. Everybody had forgotten how to do problem 17. Find polar coordinates for this. Find polar coordinates for this.
Find R and theta.
That means find R and theta. That's very good. That's what we want to find. We need to find an R and a theta. Okay? So we got to draw a picture, just like we did over here, only you're right, this time it's going to be drawn on this side because it's negative x, positive y.
2.
The hypotenuse is going to be 2. Now, you can do that a couple different ways. Certainly you can do the Pythagorean Theorem. But you also might recognize that if you have a 1 and a root 3, the other side is going to be a 2. This is a 30, 60, 90 triangle. And how big is that angle right there?
60.
That's a 60. Because it's across from the root 3. And we're doing these problems for 2 reasons. First, so we get a chance to practice. But second, to jog your memories. If you forget this, put a little check. That's what you need to study. All right, so what's R? I was supposed to be finding R and theta. What's R?
R is 2.
R is 2. This is R right here. So R is 2. Now watch it. This is theta.
120.
So theta is not 60. It's 180 minus 60. And there is the answer to the question. Line 19 is very, very similar. You want to find the polar or trigonometric form of this number. That's CIS. Very good, Jalen. That's CIS. So you still need R, and you still need theta. We need to find those. But this time, instead of ordered pair, we'll write them with a CIS in between them. So we draw a picture of this, just like we're going to do the same problem again, just like we did here. So we'll draw this, negative 1, 1 this time. What's my hypotenuse? Root 2. How big is this angle right here? 45. So how big is the real angle? 135?
Yes.
So what's R? No, R isn't 45. R is root 2. And theta is 135. So there is the answer to the question. Okay. 21. Let's look at that. Again, it is an easy problem, but you just have to remember how to do all these things. So let's look at 21 and see if anything comes back to you. Anybody remember doing anything with equations like that? This is called parametric form. Actually, this is the vector form of the line. T is the parameter. Joe, you need to go stand in the back of the room. Okay, well, let's put your hand down and put your head up and look over this way. We're going to separate this into two pieces. So the x piece will be what? What is x going to equal? X is going to equal 1 plus 1t. And y will equal 2 plus 3t. Agreed?
Yes.
Now we got to get rid of the t's. So we can either
Substitute.
eliminate, just add, make that a -3 and add them, or you can get the t by itself and substitute it in. Either way, I like to eliminate. So I'll multiply that top one by -3. Now look what happens when I add them together. Those just add, I can't do anything with it. -3x plus y equals -1, and those are now gone. Now this is going to be a multiple choice question on the test. So you need to understand that that equation could be written different ways. That equation would be the same as this one. Would you agree? Would that be another form of the same equation? Dividing through by negative? Would this be another form of the same equation? Yes. It's another form. I move the y over and move the 1 over. Switch those two places. That would be another form. So the reason I'm saying that is that when you work the problem out, you may not get exactly what's in the answer, answer choices. So mess around with your answer a little bit and see if you can match one of the answer choices. That's one of the tricky things about multiple choice. Wish we didn't do it, but we do, so there we go. All right, what was that, 21? All right, so we're ready for 23. I can see you're full of vim and vigor, can't wait. Let's see if we can get a couple more done. Oh yeah. Any thought on that?
Magnitude.
Well, eventually we're going to find the magnitude. But first, we have to multiply by 2. So 2 times that vector would be 2 - 4. Everybody remember that?
Yeah.
That part's easy. Now, anybody remember how to find magnitude?
Square root x plus y.
Close.
Square root x squared.
We square x,
X squared plus y squared.
and we square y, and we add them together and take the square root. So we square x, square y, add them together and take the square root. So that's going to be the square root of 20,
2 root 5.
which in the answer blank is probably going to say 2 root 5. Okay, that was 23. We're skipping 25, so we're going to do 27. You guys, we're rolling through this exam. This is going to be easy. Anybody remember how to do this? This is called a determinant. So we take these 2 columns and we write them out here, right? Those 2 columns are written out there. Right, and then we start multiplying. Okay, so we'll multiply right here. That's 3, and 2, and 0. Now remember, I just did it automatically, but you're adding those up. You're adding those numbers up.
Then you go backwards.
We're going to go backwards. So this will be,
-1.
that's a 0,
That's a 0.
and that's a 0.
Answer's 4.
No.
6.
The answer is 6. because I subtract these. So 5 minus negative 1. So the answer to the problem is 6. So once you get all of these and all of those, then you subtract them.
And you're multiplying, right?
On the diagonals,
On
you're
diagonals.
multiplying, yeah. All right, 29. I think we did this one in Flex today. Number 29, or one like it. How do we find the inverse? If this is A, how do we find the inverse?
You flip the 0 and the 1, and then the
So, first of all, we have to make a new matrix. And the new matrix is made by taking these two numbers and switching them. So you're going to put the 0 here and the 1 here. You're just going to flip-flop
then you
these
switch
two.
your sign.
And then these two, if it's negative, it becomes positive. If it's positive, it becomes negative. Remember that? But that's only half of it. There's another piece that we sometimes forget. What's that other piece? The determinant. So we gotta find the determinant. So the determinant will be 1 times 0 minus negative 1 times 2. The determinant is multiply these, multiply those, and subtract. So 0 minus negative 2 is 2. Now, do you remember what you do with the
You
determinant?
put it as the denominator.
You
for the
divide all these, you put it as the denominator, that is right. So all these get divided by whatever your determinant was. And then, if something reduces, you reduce it. So we get 0, negative 1, 1/2, and 1/2. And that's our final answer. So there's 2 steps to it. Please don't forget the determinant piece. Once you get everything all switched around, then you've got to divide by the determinant. All right, that was 29. We're skipping 31, so now we're going to 33. We're almost done with the no calculator part. So we're finding BC. So that's going to be B times C. Okay? Anybody remember how to do that?
I thought you did.
First, you can't do it.
First, you have to see if they're eligible.
First, you got to see if they're eligible, it says. Yeah, we got to see if this is even doable. So what are the dimensions here?
2 by
2 by
2.
2 by 2.
1 by 2.
And this is a 2 by 1. 2 rows, 1 column. So can they be multiplied?
Yeah.
Yes, and they will be another 2 by 1. So it's going to look like this. Have 2 numbers in it. How do we find those numbers? We multiply the row times the column, right? So 1 first times, so get 1 negative 1, that's your row, then you're taking it times the column, and you add them, so it's 1 plus 3, so that's a 4.
Yeah.
Then do the same thing with this row, so that's your 2 and your 4, your 1 and your negative 3. So you have 2 plus negative 12, so this would be a negative 10. And that's the answer to the question. Now, could this not be doable? Yeah, so watch that carefully. Make sure you check those dimensions first. All right, I'm going to make a note. We are stopping with 33. So next time we'll pick up with 35. So on Friday, I'll see you, and we will get back all of our random assorted papers. Whoa, 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 yeah, I got a bunch.